Okay, let's go. Um, so I have like 3 hours of shows to that I wanted to watch, but uh, I think this is more important to actually analyze this game. And with at the same day that I play it at least, because I still remember some of the things that happened in the game and basically how I thought about them as well, which helps me to answer to figure stuff out about position. Um, I played a more difficult game than last Saturday, or at least against a stronger player. Uh, but this time, uh, I did have some prep. I didn't have prep on purpose, but I did have some prep. So let's look at the prep I did for last Saturday, because I think that's funny. Uh, I assumed a French. My my mouse pointer speed is got screwed up after I reset my PC. It's it feels slow. Okay, so bishop d7, and I prepped here. This was the move that I assumed my opponent would play in, and especially in this line. And I prepped this line. There's knight ge7, castle, and then there are two options. You can either play uh, take here, and then knight f5 or knight g6. Let's say knight f5. But then I get knight c3. This seems decent. You can also, I saw that, yeah, you can also play knight g6, which, yeah, it at a higher depth, I'm fairly certain it recommends this, and then I didn't have much of an idea, but I'd play knight c3 and stuff. I But if you don't take, which is also interesting, and play knight f5 immediately, I take on c5, and then play b4 and a4, and I believe the engine after a while recommends queen to b1, or b8 I mean, of course. Fairly certain it recommends this, through which you can defend this by threatening rook e1 and here, and then you're just fine. Apparently you can take here, or was it rook e1 first then? No, here it says plus 0.7 and here it only says plus 0.2. Weird. What's the... I definitely prepped this. Yeah, rook e1. So they can't, well they can take, but you play take, bishop, I thought bishop g4 was the point, but apparently not. Oh, you take on d5, using the rook and the pin. Okay, so this is the line I looked at, but you probably, and if you don't take, is actually the point. If you don't take, and I play rook e1, I've got a couple of options, let's say castle, then I can properly defend, and then we go into this line. I had this rook lift that I prepped as well. I believe not here. Maybe a4 wasn't the move. I can't remember what I prepped exactly. I think it was a4. Maybe it was rook e1 here. And then it recommends queen b8, I believe. Queen c7 or bishop c7 or something, and then this. I definitely prepped this rook lift to e2, which was kind of interesting. I don't remember how I got there. But yeah, that's the main line. There's a side line here, and where is it? Yeah. And this was the game I played today. uh, yeah. which I thought was funny. So we played a French, and my opponent walked into my prep. Bishop e2. I learned that you play bishop e2 because otherwise they take on d4. For example, this take and knight b4 or something. Maybe not here. Maybe not knight b4 there, but maybe queen b here first and then knight b4. Yeah, you can't hold on to the bishop on this diagonal. But yeah. So bishop e2 and just castle. My opponent took knight g6 and I played knight c3. My opponent mentioned that they prepped something like f6 at some point here, but didn't go for it, so they just played bishop e7, which is the engine move, and I did not play bishop e3. I knew that in a lot of these lines you play bishop d3 and just take, which it no. I thought I could ask her to play this. And I played it here because I can now, after knight b4, retreat to b1 as well, or just take. I have options. My opponent castles. Yeah, and I do not play bishop e3 again because bishop e3 looks weird. I do play another move that is recommended right now. I play knight e2. And the point is that I'm just gonna trade off this knight here. And maybe you can play f6 and allow me to take, and then have to play that, but yeah. I don't think, I mean, you can't really prevent knight f4, and I think if I get my knight to f4, then you have to at some point trade, otherwise you can't really play as black. I mean, that's what happened. My opponent played queen e8, which I was kind of confused by in the game. But they just planned to play f6 as well, so I play knight f4, it gets taken. Because now I'm also not afraid of like queen b6 ideas. Come on. Yeah, there, queen b6 ideas, because that's not a move. Yeah, but they do play the best move in this position, which is f6. I have come on. Here I have a couple of options, and I looked at a couple of the ones that... Oh, I just realized that I'm looking at it with the engine. Whatever. We're already halfway there, so it's fine. Yeah, I considered taking. Taking seemed decent, but I thought if my idea was if I take, they take, I get bishop h6 maybe, but I wasn't convinced yet, because I think that's all I get. And if they take with anything else, I get the e5 square, but maybe I lose the d pawn if I actually get to... So maybe just they take bishop takes, and I have to take with the pawn, otherwise I lose a pawn, and then it's... don't really care to do that. So instead of f6 I played rook e1. The point being that I can now take back properly, and I believe I can take, so take, oh yeah, take and then take with the knight. If I take back, then it's fine. But apparently they can push and be fine, which is decent. I mean, I'm still playing against someone with a rating of 2200-ish, so that's like 350 above my rating. If I'm kind of okay with a draw, and this really basically gets you a draw. But yeah, they don't do that. They play queen f7, and now I have to take again apparently, but I don't. Instead, I basically allow f5. I thought it was clever here. No. Because they're threatening to take, and then if I have to take with the bishop, of course, and then they take with the knight, and then I lose on c2. So I can't take with the knight, so I'd have to take with the pawn, and then I'm not happy anymore. I can still take with the rook, but then I'm also not happy because of like bishop here or something. So I just have to find a good way to defend f2. And I found a good way, which doesn't look like it should work, and it's not recommended either. I played queen c2 here, and it doesn't allow knight b4, which looks like the solution, because knight b4 I take on h7 and then play queen g6, which I saw, of course, and then I'm just up a pawn. So they played f5, and that was kind of a concession, I thought. But they now are threatening knight b4, so I played a3. Apparently I'm worse here. After h6, which I guess makes sense. Yeah, I think, that makes sense, because I had in the game I had enough time to prepare against it after they played king h8. I looked at this, all of it. In the end I settled on something else. Queen e2 is similar to what I thought. I eventually settled on bishop e2, and the point is that if they play h6, I can play h4. This is a threat on the pawn, but I can play g6, and now the knight is defended by the bishop. What's the point? And otherwise I'd lose the h-pawn, I think. Or I can play bishop here, but then g5 maybe, right? So if I am forced to play this, then they, I believe, just get g5, and then I'm just worse. Fortunately, none of that happened, because after bishop e2 I can just do that. They played rook g8, apparently, which is kind of a prep, and I played queen d2, which defends. You can play g5 here. Takes what? Oh, you pin the knight, because I'm getting checkmated on the g file. That's sad. Yeah, that wins. That's pain. And I just g5 and I just lose a piece. Unfortunately. Fortunately, they didn't find g5. Yeah, they played queen f8, which I was also kind of confused by. Maybe the point is that after h6 I might just take. I don't think I can, but yeah, queen f8. And here I had a couple of options again. I liked rook ac1 with the and on h6 I can still always play h4. Ooh, still sick. And they played bishop e8, which I didn't think was a great move, because hey, actually I found a move, or one of the moves. Bishop e8 looked kind of weird. It doesn't defend this anymore, but you're kind of threatening bishop h5 and taking the knight, because this bishop is terrible and this knight is decent. But I just get knight g5, and I mean, you can either take or defend this pawn. And you can go back to d7, and I could also even go back to f3. I was strongly considering it, because h6 was kind of an issue. It is showing the light, which I did not want. This is what happened. This is not. This is what happened, and bishop d7 did not happen. You can take bishop f7. I might have taken. I don't think so. Actually, yeah, bishop f7. My plan was bishop b5, and putting pressure here, and then infiltrating on c7 because they have to move, basically. Instead, they played knight d8. I looked at rook c7, but I thought I could also play it a bit slower. I wanted to double up on the c file, so I played rook c3, which has an interesting secondary issue or thing going on, which is this. After h6 I get rook h3, which is apparently not a great move. Sorry, that's not what, that's not what happened, but it is the thing. They didn't actually play that yet. They played bishop g6 first. I doubled, and now played h6, and rook h3. This is the line. They can't take because I have pinned the pawn, and yeah, so my knight is here to stay and keeps pressure here. I found this. I'm going to turn off the engine eval for a second because it's showing a move that because my opponent played a move that isn't shown. They played the move bishop h7, and now I have a very funny move here, really very funny, and I did play it as well. So I mean, if you wanna try to figure it out, here's a couple of seconds. Yeah, I mean, I can still play rook c7, of course, but I saw this very interesting move, and I think the engine should probably show it, right? No, rook c7. I played this, which is still +1. Apparently rook c7 is even better. But yeah, bishop h5, and the point is that you can't take with the pawn because then I just play bishop g6 and just give a checkmate. You can't play g6 because then I would take here, take there. My opponent played this, so let's put that in. Take here, take there. And we looked at this for a bit. I missed the continuation my opponent had. My opponent has this still. oh, that's gross. Ooh, that's way grosser. Okay, we looked at this and we said this, and you're just winning because you have a pawn and you have the 7th rank and stuff. We missed checkmates in 9. Happens. Because you had to look at it from this position. And if you don't play g6, what do you do in this position? You literally have no move. This queen has no moves, the rook has no moves, the bishop has no moves, this king has no moves, this pawn can't move, this pawn can't move, these 3 can't move. The bishop can go here, that's 1. This knight can't move because then I take here. Actually, I win the queen here. This rook has this, and you can move some pawns. Those are the only moves you can play as black that don't immediately lose, which I thought was pretty decent. My opponent can just take here, and they managed to just barely get out, apparently. Yeah, bishop e3 is probably the move, but I thought that I saw something better. Apparently not. I played rook c7 here, which is really funny as well, because this is a queen sacrifice line. If you take, then rook or bishop g6 and it's checkmate. But they play here, and I played queen c1. But there's another interesting line. I mean, this is a forced checkmate. I will win, sort of. You have a couple, actually, let's say you do this. Yeah, then it's a forced checkmate. You do need the rook on c7, of course. Yeah, let's say this. Yeah, it is a forced checkmate. And this is also still a forced checkmate, if you don't take the rook at least, because yeah, you still just take on h6, and this is a forced checkmate. So the only way to defend is taking the rook, of course. But taking the rook is good enough because you're faster with this checkmate. So I had to play queen c1, unfortunately. And they took, and we just traded. And they tried to trade a couple of things off. And here played g6 and offered me a draw. Which I accepted. 315 rating points. Decent. I considered playing on, but I don't think you have enough. Well, you do have. You can't lose as white, but I didn't want to play this on for that much longer. I looked at this, but yeah, rook g7. You can play this, and f4 is probably a move that you should play quite quickly. Oh, you can't do that, of course. Maybe you need to play this first. We looked at this for a bit, but we didn't even get the correct line. But like, my king can get quite far, but you always have some counterplay, and your pieces get active kind of quickly as black, and you have some counterplay here, and let's say this. Oh, you do actually take. I thought it would close the position, but yeah, it's in an interesting position, but I just where was it? G6 here. I just decided, yeah, I didn't want to play this. It's just too hard, which it is. It's just, I mean, chess can be really cruel sometimes. Because I played bishop h5, I played queen takes h5 here, and still, if this is, this is a forced checkmate in 3 if my opponent doesn't have anything. But still, I have to just play a rook endgame, despite everything. That's just pain. But that's what you get at a higher level. It was a good game. I'm quite proud of this game. But yeah, I was never in the negatives, right? No, I was once. I allowed, for a couple of moves, I allowed g5. But yeah, this is a good game. I'm quite proud of it. Fortunately, it wasn't a win. But that happens. See you next time.